Riley and Nina were in a car accident together. One died and the other was injured. The moment I woke up in the hospital bed, I saw my mother with blood all over her face, crying hysterically. She kept asking me over and over, "Are you Nina? Are you Nina?" I could only silently cry, unable to respond to her. Later, she stripped off my clothes and told me to leave and never come back. I left the house in my underwear, and she followed me outside, her gaze filled with undisguised resentment. She said, "Riley, why couldn't it have been you who died? My name is Riley, and I had a twin sister named Nina, but Nina passed away at the age of 14 in a horrific car accident. I was also in the car at that time. Our whole family was." I saw Nina, who was sitting next to me, thrown forward, breaking through the windshield and then flying several meters before crashing heavily to the ground. I struggled out of the car and staggered towards her. She was still conscious at that time. She lay in my arms, behaving gently and quietly. The blood near my eyes blurred my vision. I could only see her chest where several bones protruded. When I touched them, I felt her broken ribs piercing through her skin, pushing up her dress to reveal a stark red. Blood was gushing out of her, and I didn't know where to press to stop it. I was so scared. I forgot to cry. "Nina, just hang in there. The ambulance will be here soon. You'll be okay, you have to be," I said, suddenly. She reached out her bloodied hand, touched my cheek gently, and smiled at me while spitting blood. She said, "Riley, take care of yourself. Be well." I felt dizzy and collapsed on the roadside, holding her. When I woke up again, I was already in the hospital. In the quiet hospital room, my mother grabbed my hand, tears dropping continuously onto the white sheets. "Are you Nina? Are you?" I felt dizzy, but I could still hear her words. Her head was wrapped in thick bandages, and her cheeks and lips were swollen. Her eyes, bright and shiny, were filled with a sad hope. I avoided eye contact, not knowing what to say to her. Fortunately, a nurse came over and asked if I felt uncomfortable anywhere. I told her I felt dizzy, severely dizzy, and nauseous. The nurse then used the pretext of a possible brain injury needing rest to send my mother out of the room. My mother pressed her face against the glass of the room, staring at me desperately. Her tears kept streaming down, endlessly. "How are my dad and sister?" I asked. "Your dad broke his leg, but it's not serious. Your sister," she suddenly stopped talking, turned to look at me, and gently squeezed my hand. Seeing my mother cry like that, I had already guessed, but when the nurse actually told me, I couldn't help but start crying. Suddenly, everything spun around me, and I turned to one side and vomited on the floor. The nurse immediately pressed the bedside button. The doctor arrived quickly. After a brief examination, they wheeled me out of the ward. Although I was dizzy, I was still conscious. The moment I left the ward, my mother rushed up to me, grasping my hand. "Nina, what's wrong with you? Tell me, don't scare me," she pleaded. My head ached and my heart was in pain, but I didn't even have the courage to speak my own name. I could only close my eyes and hold back tears. After the examination, the nurse wheeled me out again, and there was my mother, still curled up at the door of the ward. As soon as she saw me, she stood up quickly, almost stumbling and falling. She didn't care and rushed over to ask, "Nina, are you all right? Are you okay?" Ever since I woke up, she had called me Nina countless times. She never once considered that the one who might have survived could be Riley. Her tearful, expectant eyes left me at a loss for how to respond. In that moment, I envied Nina a bit, and also resented myself, sadly. I thought it would have been better if I were the one lying cold in the morgue. I always knew I wasn't the child she had hoped for. Nina was. She was obedient and gentle, a perfect match for her name. Her grades were excellent, consistently among the top 10 in her class, a true academic star. As for me, aside from our strikingly similar looks, I had nothing in common with her. But fate played a cruel trick. It took Nina away and left me, the useless Riley, behind. My name became taboo at home. My mother never called me Riley again, insisting on calling me Nina, as if by doing so, her Nina was still alive. She wouldn't let me cut my hair short, and before my hair could grow back, she quickly bought me a wig, long, straight, black hair, just like Nina's. The loose t-shirts and black trousers in my wardrobe had disappeared, replaced by various dresses, actually all Nina's clothes. I was no longer allowed to run wildly or laugh loudly, because the quiet Nina would never do such things. I originally had a small red mole at the corner of my eye, the only feature distinguishing me from Nina. However, it was erased by shards of glass in the accident that scarred my face. I used to be much taller than Nina, but now that she was gone, with no one to compare to, I wasn't even sure if I had grown taller. The accident took Nina away, along with any features that were uniquely mine. Some people are alive, yet they are already dead. Some are dead, yet they still live on. Sometimes I also felt confused, unsure who really died in that accident. Honestly, if it could make my parents happier, I would be willing to play the role of Nina, but I know I'm not worthy. Nina was like the bright moon in the sky, while I am just a piece of grass. My mother knew this too. She used to say I wasn't even fit to carry Nina's shoes. Now, however, she always tries to forget. After I was discharged, she lied to the school, claiming I was Nina and managed to place me in Nina's advanced class. Sitting in that classroom, flipping through Nina's neat notes, I felt bewildered for a moment. I really thought I could step into Nina's shoes, but on the very first day of class, reality hit me hard as I sat there, unable to comprehend a single thing. I could mimic her serene and well-behaved demeanor, wear her clothes, carry her backpack, and sit in her spot, pretending to be the now useless Riley. However, I could never achieve the grades Nina did. When I was 7, my mom took us for an IQ test, and she was quite proud of the results. Nina's IQ was 127, well above average, of course. Her pride had nothing to do with me, as my own IQ was a pitiful 89, just 1 point shy of the passing mark. It was clear I didn't inherit Nina's intelligence. Our paths were set distinctively by our mother that year. Nina was destined for university, possibly further studies or even studying abroad. As for me, getting any job, perhaps in cosmetology, would be enough to get by. Our lives were completely different. I was too dull, and my mother lacked the patience to teach me. Nina was too bright for her too, which led her to hire a tutor for us. Initially, I attended the sessions with Nina, but I couldn't grasp the advanced math and kept forgetting English vocabulary, often dozing off during lessons. My mom, worried I might hold Nina back, eventually stopped me from attending. She then focused all her attention on Nina, leaving me to my own devices, a decision I am now profoundly grateful for. I would hastily finish my homework and dash downstairs to play outside, engaging in rough-and-tumble games with the local boys. While Nina sat inside, endlessly working through her exercises, I'd come home drenched in sweat and out of breath. Nina, on the other hand, would have already finished her homework and be engrossed in The Count of Monte Cristo. Despite sharing the same family and looks, at the age of 12, our lives couldn't have been more different. Everything was orderly until Nina's sudden death threw our lives into chaos. Our parents were caught off guard. My mom transferred all her expectations from Nina to me, not considering that I, who only grew taller, couldn't bear such hopes. I told my dad, and he just shook his head and sighed. My mom complained about my lack of effort and constant eating, comparing me to a pig. Indeed, the one thing where I surpassed Nina was my appetite. I remember one New Year at our grandparents', where they kept praising Nina. How beautiful she had become, how she topped her class, so well-behaved and polite. It took a while before they even remembered me. Grandpa seemed to run out of compliments, looked at me bewilderedly, and then chuckled. Riley has grown taller again. That was the only advantage I had over Nina, my height. They used to praise how well I ate. Now they scold me for eating too much. No matter how much I try to emulate her, test scores don't lie. I could never achieve Nina's dazzling results without cheating. But cheating always catches up to you one day. The day the school disciplinary report came, my mom cornered me against the wall and furiously beat me with a brush. I curled up, unable to even plead for mercy. Previously, when I was beaten, Nina would always stand in front of me, but now she was gone. My dad stepped forward to protect me but retreated under my mom's intimidating gaze. She was crying hysterically, slapping herself while crying, "You killed my Nina. You all killed Nina." The look in my dad's eyes was full of pain. He sat on the sofa, too scared to speak. He was driving on the day of the accident. Suddenly, a tire burst, and the car uncontrollably flipped into a ditch by the road. The traffic police called it an accident, but my mom didn't believe it. She was convinced that my dad was responsible for Nina's death. After the beating, I quietly returned to my room. It was the room I shared with Nina, equipped with bunk beds, I slept on the top bunk, and Nina slept on the bottom. But that top bunk was never actually used, until the day before Nina's death. We still squeezed together in one bed. Now, I was the only one left in this room. Under the glass of Nina's desk was a torn and then mended test paper. The bright red 62 score seemed to mock me. That time when Nina cried over her poor grades, I returned home cheerfully with a 62 on my paper. My mom was comforting Nina, and when she saw my paper, she burst into tears. Riley, what are you even doing at school all day? Do you even have a brain? Are you proud to be laughing with such a score? How shameless can you be? As she grew angrier, she snatched my paper, tore it up, and threw it in my face, then randomly grabbed a brush to hit me with. Nina immediately stopped crying. I saw her crumple her own test paper into a ball and throw it in the trash, then quickly stood in front of me, spreading her arms. Her petite body effectively shielded me. Mom, don't be angry. Riley just had a bad day. She'll do better next time. As if she could do better. Stupid as a pig, my mom grumbled, tossing the brush aside and giving a fierce scowl, then huffily called my dad to complain. That evening, my mom wouldn't let me eat. She said eating too much muddled my brain, and starving might clear my mind. It was Nina who secretly went out and bought me a loaf of bread. She was worried I might be hungry, but she worried too much, for someone like me, who couldn't excel in studies or even in having fun. What was left but to be a fool? So, when Nina sneaked into the room with the bread, I was already happily chewing on a sausage I had saved from long ago. Nina patted my back. Riley, does it still hurt? I ate the bread she bought for me along with the sausage, having already forgotten the afternoon's ordeal. After watching me eat for a while, she hesitantly asked, Riley, you don't blame me, do you? Her voice was soft, tinged with fear and probing, her round eyes staring straight at me. Why would I blame her? I was the one who didn't do well. It had nothing to do with her. Even without her, I would still have failed. I didn't really understand why my mom was so angry. She had known all along that I wasn't smart. I thought she had accepted that fact long ago. Holding her graded test paper, Nina smiled at me and said, Riley has improved, scoring 5 points more than last time, and even passing. Nina is so kind to remember my past scores. Those embarrassing scores used to make my mom hang her head in shame. My parents never wanted to attend parent-teacher conferences because of them, but Nina always remembered. She never thought of me as dumb, and when my mom lost patience, she would often help me with my homework. I blushed with embarrassment from her praise, grinning foolishly at her. Our teacher also praised me, saying I had moved up 5 spots. However, my mom disregarded these compliments. I had retrieved Nina's test paper from the trash and kept it hidden in my backpack. Carrying it with me, she scored 95, but felt she could have gotten a perfect score. I could never understand Nina's troubles. I would gladly go without food for 3 days if I could achieve such scores. I think my mom has gone a bit mad. She argues with my dad all day and smashes things around the house. My dad is so frightened that he doesn't dare come home, staying at his workplace every day, but I have nowhere to go, and I still have to come home with my backpack every day to face scolding and sometimes even beatings. My mom has become more twisted. She hates that I look so much like Nina, having the same face, yet despises that I can't achieve the kind of scores that would make her proud. I was used to being neglected, and suddenly having her attention was very uncomfortable. She started feeding me inspirational quotes about achieving success through perseverance and forcefully wanted to send me to a prestigious high school. But those were impractical ideas, clear to both her and me. One night, I vaguely saw someone standing at the head of my bed and instantly woke up. That night, before sleeping, I had played a game of summoning spirits. My friend Linda told me that at midnight, if I drew some complicated symbols with fresh blood, I could speak to the dead. I missed Nina so much. I cut my wrist and drew over and over on the paper, but Nina never came. I tried all sorts of methods known to communicate with spirits, but none worked. I thought it was Nina by the bed and sat up, only to find it was my mom. Without a word, she started cutting my hair with scissors. It was the long hair I had grown since Nina's death. My mom grabbed my hair and cut it haphazardly, cursing and crying as she said, "What right do you have to emulate her? You're as dumb as a pig." For a moment, I almost wished her grip would slip, and she would accidentally kill me, but she didn't. Her scissors only cut off my hair without harming my skin. After venting, she carelessly threw the scissors on the floor and walked away, looking devastated. My desk was covered in a sheet of A4 paper, completely soaked in blood, but my mom didn't even glance at it. In the bed I once shared with Nina, only I remained, along with strands of hair. I missed Nina so much, I felt like going insane. I wanted to hug my mom and tell her how much I missed Nina, wishing she could come back, even if it meant dying in her place. But I said nothing, sitting alone on the disheveled bed, sleepless through the night. The next morning after breakfast, I went to school with my messy hair. My mom drove me, silent all the way, and just before getting out of the car, she handed me a new wig, still long and straight black. I've always enjoyed painting, although I never took it very seriously before, but things have changed. Nina is gone, and now I'm the only child left at home. The responsibility of attending college and further studies has fallen on me. My parents, left with no choice, began to take my education more seriously. After much consideration, they decided to nurture my talent in painting. Several teachers at the art studio have praised my natural gift for it. When my mom heard this, she just rolled her eyes and let out a scoff, making the teachers a bit uncomfortable. I know she doesn't value this path to high school. I'm not Nina. If it were just up to academic subjects, I might not even make it into high school. On the day the middle school exam results were announced, I was excited. With my artistic skills, I managed to qualify for a decent high school. I thought I could regain some respect from my mom, but I was too naive. What my mom wanted was not a better Riley, she wanted the already excellent Nina, or rather, a Riley who could match Nina's excellence. She wanted me to attend the best high school in the city, a school Nina could have attended without exams if she were here. But I couldn't make it, even with my talent in painting. I was still 100 points short in academics. My mom didn't let me apply on my own. She used connections and paid $280,000 so I could attend the same high school as Nina, but I never received the admission notice from that school. School had already started for Linda, and I was still hiding in the study, painting Nina and myself. I used to be lively and jumpy, but now, I'm quiet and well-behaved. I don't even know if I'm Nina or Riley. By the time the National Day holiday came, Linda had been in school for a month, and my admission letter still hadn't arrived. Then suddenly, the police showed up. My mom realized she had been scammed. Furious, she stomped her feet, and my dad argued with her, calling her crazy and blaming her for wasting my time. Their argument escalated quickly, and I had to step in to separate them. My mom slapped me, blaming me for not being competent. If you had scored better, would I have needed to beg around for a school for you? Would I have been scammed? That slap was hard, and I was stunned for a long time. But I never wanted to go to that top school. I've always known I'm Riley. I couldn't have gotten into that school, not in a million years. It turns out they knew it too, but they always pretended to forget. When all the leaves in the yard had fallen, my dad pushed open the door to my room. I was still sitting quietly at the desk, painting. Nina used to say I was impatient and restless. Now, she's gone, and here I am, styling my hair like hers, wearing her clothes, sitting at her desk. And I can sit quietly all day just like Nina did. My dad told me two things. First, I had no school to attend now and could only consider retaking the year. Second, he was planning to divorce my mom and asked whom I would choose to live with. I had already thought about the first piece of news, so hearing it from him didn't surprise me much. But the second piece, that took me a moment to process. I looked up at him blankly, unsure of what to say. In the year since Nina left, he was either on business trips or staying at his office, so I hadn't seen him much. Only now did I realize how much he had aged. I turned away, not wanting to look at him, my paintbrush aimlessly drawing circles on the paper. Dad, Nina left. Do you not want us anymore? My father suddenly burst into tears, a grown man sitting by my bed, crying like a child. Riley, your mom has lost it. I can't take these days anymore. Come with me. My mom was convinced that my dad was responsible for Nina's death since he was driving at the time, and I was an accomplice, as it was my idea to go camping. They hadn't planned to go, but Nina had begged them for a long time. Dad, who will get the house? I want to keep living here, in this house where Nina used to be. After crying for a while, he wiped his tears, hugged me, and then silently left. I dropped the paintbrush and sat in the quiet room, stunned for a long time. Our home was already fractured. My mom was competitive, always wanting to be superior, while my dad was soft and somewhat timid. Obedient Nina could always calm my mom down before her storms hit. Nina was the guardian angel for me and my dad, a strong adhesive that kept our family stable. After Nina left, I tried to take over her role, but I overestimated myself. Even if I became obedient and studied hard, what then? I could never become another Nina. I didn't care whether I stayed with dad or mom, I just missed Nina. She was my guardian angel. The house was left to my mom. If I wanted to keep my room, I had to stay with her. The day my dad left, my mom sat all day without speaking or eating. I bought her a cat, hoping it might help her pain. The moment the furry kitten was placed in her hands, her eyebrows moved slightly, as if she was about to smile. She gently stroked the kitten in her arms and said softly, "Don't you have a severe allergy? Is it okay to have a cat in the house?" "I do have severe allergies, especially bad in the summer." At that moment, I was mopping the floor and her words made me inexplicably want to cry. She finally remembered that I was Riley, not Nina, but then, suddenly, she threw the kitten at me. Startled, I quickly caught it, and the frightened kitten meowed incessantly. "Mom," I was stunned, not knowing what I had done to upset her again. "If it hadn't been for you making Nina get out of the car to fetch the paper, she wouldn't have died." She screamed and lunged at me, beginning to choke me. "You killed her. Don't think I've forgotten. You were just jealous of her, jealous of my Nina." She beat and cried until she was exhausted, then lay on the couch, silent. I also said nothing. I've run out of tears. It was me who caused Nina's death. I've always been afraid to admit this. That day on the road, my allergies suddenly acted up, and Nina got out of the car midway to buy me tissues. When she came back, she forgot to fasten her seatbelt. She was never very attentive about this, and I usually reminded her, but that day, I was too preoccupied with my runny nose and forgot to remind her. Once again, she didn't wear her seatbelt. I thought more than once that if I hadn't asked her to buy tissues, she wouldn't have gotten out of the car, and the accident wouldn't have happened. The crash was an accident, but this wasn't. I killed Nina. I am the real culprit. This has been a huge burden on my heart, suffocating me. Now, as my mother relentlessly exposed this, I found myself out of tears. I returned to the room I shared with Nina, facing the immense void, reminiscing about Nina's smiling face. Before she left, our school had conducted an exam, and I scored only 9 points. This result completely devastated my mother. She grabbed my arm, intending to take me to the hospital to check my brain, and not even my dad dared to stop her, but Nina did. She desperately pulled at my mother's arm, dragging and tugging until her slippers slipped up to her ankles. My mother, seeing her cry so sadly, let go of me but still slapped me a few times. Nina struggled to pull her slippers off, put them on properly, and dragged me, who was petrified, back to our room. She found some oil in the medicine box to treat my bruises. As she applied it, she started crying again. She said, "Riley, don't blame Mom, she's just too anxious." Seeing her cry made me want to cry too, but I dared not. If I cried, my mom would say, "You still have the face to cry after scoring so low." I wiped the tears from Nina's eyes. "Nina, you should have brought the test paper home to show Mom. If she saw how well you did, maybe she wouldn't be so angry. Your test paper should also have a parent's signature. Don't keep hiding it." That time, she didn't bring the test paper home, saying she hadn't performed well, but she was Nina. How could she not perform well? After Nina applied the medicine, she gently held me in her arms. "Riley, it's okay, just one more point and you're in double digits. 100 is just 3 digits, you can definitely do it." I am the Riley whom my mom describes as dumb as a pig, and she was Nina, the kindest, most gentle person in the world to me, yet, I couldn't keep her. I've decided to repeat the year. Since public schools don't accept repeaters, I had to opt for a private school. It's a boarding school with strict policies, requiring all students to stay on campus and only allowing us to go home after classes on Saturday mornings. When I left home with my backpack and sketchpad, my mom was sitting on the sofa, the TV blaring so loudly that I knew she wasn't really watching. I said, "Mom, I'm leaving." She didn't look at me, nor did she lift her eyelids. "Go, just go, and better never come back." She snapped quickly, her tone harsh yet her voice slightly choked. I wanted to hug her, but after thinking it over, I just gently squeezed her hand. That year at the boarding school, I was genuinely happy. Apart from attending academic classes, I spent my days in the studio, drawing incessantly, sometimes even forgetting to eat. One weekend, I lied about having extra classes and didn't go home, alone in the empty studio. I drew 32 sketches of Nina. She appeared in my dreams occasionally. In those dreams, she never wore dresses and her hair was always some odd color. She always wanted me to take her out, pestering me to buy her snacks. Oddly, she wasn't usually playful or greedy for treats. She was a good student, consistently earning scholarships, and my mom would reward her for it. She always stayed indoors reading and hardly went out, giving me all her pocket money. I still struggled with academic subjects, but my art teachers kept praising me, saying I had a real talent. My works filled the corridor walls, and I carefully signed each piece of paper with my name, Riley, over and over in my mind. I repeated, I am Riley, my name is Riley. I worked incredibly hard during my repeat year, however. The story of a poor student turning into a top one is only something you find in novels. My relentless dedication didn't get me into the top school. Instead, I ended up at school number 12, the same school as Linda, but a grade below her. When school started, Linda saw me and immediately insisted that I call her senior, which annoyed me so much that I ended up hitting her. She just laughed, took me to the cafeteria, and thoughtfully bought me a milk tea. Riley, why did you even decide to repeat a year? If you had applied to this school in the first year, you'd be in the same grade as me now, she said. Yes, I could have gotten into this school with my initial grades. I sipped my milk tea quietly, not wanting to talk. Linda sighed. Don't take it the wrong way, but I think your mom. She paused, pointing to her head. Riley, you used to be so lively and cheerful, always running and laughing in the hallways. Loud enough that our teacher would run down from the third floor to pull your ear. Not that it's something to be proud of, she added, then sighed again, looking me over. Look at you now, always with a gloomy face, like you owe someone 500,000 and can't pay it back. I used to never confuse you with your sister, but now, it's getting hard to tell. She sighed again, measuring me up and down. Maybe, just maybe, do you want to move into the dorm with me? When she suggested this, I was tempted. But I didn't think my mom would agree. Her hysterical outbursts still haunted me. I feared she might wreck the house again. Still, I broached the subject with her, but before I could finish, she had already flipped the table. I sacrifice so much for this family every day, and you all just want to leave me. Do you even have a conscience? Have you fed it to the dogs? I've given so much for this family, and all of you are so ungrateful. She cried and pinched me hard. I didn't dodge. I just felt truly fed up this time. Mom, if you feel wronged, you don't have to worry about me anymore. I can ask Dad for living expenses. What do you mean by that? Think you're too good for me now that you've grown wings? What are you trying to do? I didn't mean to disdain her. I just didn't want to owe her anything. She priced every meal she cooked, which at any moment could turn into a dagger and viciously stab your heart. I wasn't scorning her. I just wanted some peace. As I packed, she kept cursing at me. After I packed my clothes, she grabbed the suitcase and threw it into the garbage bin downstairs. She stood there, fuming, watching me. I hesitated for a long time, but eventually, I left with my backpack. As I left, she continued hurling filthy insults involving crude references to genitals, which were too vile to repeat. Initially hesitant, her words made me quicken my pace. By the time I was almost out of the complex, she was squatting by the garbage bin, her shoulders shaking, seemingly crying. I hardened my heart and boarded the bus to school. After moving into the dorm, I only went home once a month, and it felt really good not having to go back so often. In 6 months, my mom only gave me living expenses once. I knew she wanted me to ask her for it, but I refused to endure more humiliation. If she wouldn't offer, I wouldn't ask. Luckily, I could draw. On Linda's suggestion, I started taking commissions online to do drawings for others, managing a few orders each month. It wasn't much, but since I had few expenses living in the dorm, it was more than enough to occasionally treat a classmate to bubble tea or a meal. This little bit of freedom was exhilarating. My mom said I had grown wings, and perhaps I had. I spent my 17th birthday with Linda. She insisted on taking me to a bar, where she booked a private booth and we partied all night. It was my first time at a bar, and she got me quite drunk. She too was drunk and left me with a guy. I thought he would take me home, but he was also very drunk, and in a daze. We ended up in a hotel room at the bar. He stumbled into the room with me. I was awakened by my mom slapping me. The room was crowded with people including my teachers, classmates, the bar manager, and 2 police officers. My head spun. But looking down, I saw I was still lying on the floor, fully clothed. The guy who brought me back was passed out on the other side of the bed. Why are you so shameless, at your age, sneaking off to book a room with someone? Why are you acting so cheap? Are you going to school every day or just selling yourself? After slapping me several times, my mother started berating me. The police and a teacher hurried over to pull her away. The boy had just opened his eyes groggily, and upon seeing everyone in the room, he woke up completely. We were drunk. And Riley couldn't remember her way home. I didn't dare take her back to school, so I booked a room. We didn't do anything, I said, my face swollen as I looked over at him gratefully. His name seemed to be Spencer, a classmate of Linda. Honestly, he might as well have left me on the street. My mother almost attacked him too, but the police stopped her. She struggled violently, continuing to curse. The whole uproar lasted for an hour before it finally ended. My mother wouldn't believe it was all a misunderstanding. She insisted on calling me a prostitute, accusing me of making money that way. She claimed she only believed what she saw, but when she burst into the room, that boy and I were clearly just sleeping on the floor. She believed not her eyes, but her imagination. In her mind, that's just how I should be. Well, I had nothing left to explain. She strictly forbade me from staying at the school dormitory and caused a scene at the school. Teachers and classmates started getting headaches upon seeing her, and their looks towards me changed subtly. I didn't want to go home and could only hide in an internet cafe, continuing my drawings in a booth filled with the smell of cigarettes and instant noodles. When my mom couldn't find me, she reported me missing. After numerous reports, even the local police started to fear her. My 17th year passed in a blur of this cat-and-mouse game with my mother. I mostly skipped school and barely attended classes. I might have turned bad. I can't even dream of Nina anymore. Maybe she despises me now too. Fortunately, I never gave up on my passion for drawing. Shortly after my senior year began, my long-absent father suddenly appeared. He was willing to pay for my art training. With his help, I went to the Continental Bridge in Beijing. Unfortunately, my mom found out where I was studying and I couldn't stay there any longer. I had to return to my city and randomly picked another institution to continue my training. I was new there, didn't know anyone in the studio, and due to my personality, I didn't make many friends, except I got somewhat close to Cindy from my dorm. She was a straightforward girl who took good care of me both in public and private. One day, as I was passing by the storage room next to the studio, I overheard her talking with the sketching teacher. Cindy, what do you think about Riley? She's really nice. What's up? Her mom called me, saying her private life is a mess. She often goes out with boys. I didn't stay to hear the rest. I just walked away. This scene was all too familiar. I was doing well at the Continental Bridge, where the teachers believed I could easily rank among the top 3 in the institution. But a single call from my mom turned me into a pariah. The teachers and classmates' looks towards me changed, and those who were once friendly now ignored me. I couldn't explain it. No one would believe. Who could believe that a mother would continuously slander her own daughter? Who would believe that? I think my mom not only went crazy, she had become somewhat mentally deranged. I stormed home, furious, and when I pushed open the bedroom door, there was my mom, sitting in the room I shared with Nina, staring blankly at our photos. When she looked up and saw me, her face immediately fell. You know to come back. I thought you were dead out there. I glared at her, feeling a strong urge to fight back. Why would you do this? She paused for a moment, slamming a photo on the table. Are you out of your mind? You disappear for months and come back acting crazy. What do you want? Do you want to devour me? I'm your mother. I know you're my mom. That's why I'm asking why you would do such a thing. Why spread rumors about me? You've made it impossible for me to stay at the Art Training Institute. Why can't you just leave me alone? I was so angry that I pounded the table, shattering Nina's glass placemat. How have I spread rumors about you? You hang out with those shady people all day. What good could you possibly be up to? What good could you possibly be? I haven't given you any living expenses for months, and you haven't asked your dad for money either. So where did you get the money? She said it so confidently It almost made me laugh. So you remember not giving me any living expenses, but you never bring it up. You just wait for me to go down the wrong path so you can gloat, right? Yes, I'm not a good person, but don't forget, you gave birth to me. How much better could you possibly be? Shut up. Her face turned red with anger. And she raised her hand to slap me, but I quickly grabbed her wrist. I applied a bit of force, and she fell back onto the bed. You're rebelling against me. Her eyes widened, and she rushed to attack me. Before she could, I dashed into the living room, grabbing vases, cups, and kettles off the table, anything I could get my hands on. I smashed to the ground. She had never seen me like this before, standing dumbfounded at the doorway, motionless, after I had smashed everything. I slumped into the sofa, glancing provocatively at my mom. In the past, after her outbursts, leaving a mess behind, my dad and I would clean up. We were always very careful, not daring to say a word. After my dad left, it was just me left to deal with the mess. No one talked to me then. Now, it was finally her turn to taste this, and I felt an immense sense of relief. Riley, are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? She finally called my name, finally remembered that I am Riley. But her tone was filled with disgust, her look full of resentment. It's sad what this mother-daughter relationship has come to. I really don't know what unforgivable sins I've committed to have you as a daughter. Shut up, you're just a whore, you're nothing compared to Nina, you'll never measure up to Nina. She returned to her hysterical self. The alive Nina was her medicine, her comfort. The deceased Nina, however, became a quagmire. Not only unable to get out herself but also trying to drag me down with her. So what if I don't measure up? Take a good look, Nina is dead. No matter how good she was, she's still gone. You drove Dad away too. Now all you have left is this useless Riley, the Riley you call a whore. I yelled until my throat was hoarse, tears streaming down my face. Get out. She furiously opened the door, pushing me out like a madwoman. The lights in the entire hallway turned on. I broke free from her grip. Glaring at her fiercely, I don't even care to stay in this house. I grabbed my bag and stormed out the door, instantly surrounded by the boundless night. It was already late at night, and the streets were mostly empty except for the occasional passing vehicle. I had planned to stay overnight and take the bus back to the institution in the morning, but after being kicked out, with no buses running, I really had nowhere to go. I could have taken a taxi, which would cost about $50 from my house to the institution, but I was reluctant to spend that much. Alternatively, I could call Linda. However, there was that one time my mom barged into her house looking for me, which really angered her parents. I felt too ashamed to contact her again. Sitting at the desolate street corner, I couldn't help but find the irony in the situation amusing. Look at this, I thought. My mom is always worried I'll turn bad, yet here she is, throwing me out in the middle of the night, making me feel like a stray dog. I felt I might as well do something to live up to her prophecy. I checked my pockets and my phone. I had a little over $200, and with about 10 days left in the month, I figured I could make it through. Sitting by the roadside was unsafe, so I decided to spend the night at an internet cafe, which at $30 was much cheaper than a hotel. However, the all-night rate only started after 1 a.m. And with an hour to kill, I decided to grab some dinner first. By nearly midnight, the only place I could afford was a 24-hour beef noodle shop. Just as I sat down and ordered, preparing to pay, someone tapped me on the shoulder. Riley, what are you doing here? He knew my name, clearly recognizing me, but I had no recollection of him, which was a bit embarrassing. Oh, you forgot, I'm Linda's classmate. His expectant gaze made me uncomfortable as I struggled to remember him. Then it hit me, Spencer. The memory of my mom and a group of people storming in to catch a cheater flashed before my eyes. That time, I'm really sorry for the trouble, I said, dying of embarrassment. Spencer insisted on paying for my meal and ordered some more dishes and a couple of drinks, dragging me to sit in a corner. I was just out celebrating a friend's birthday, had a few drinks, and my stomach wasn't feeling great. Wanted some beef noodles. And what a coincidence to run into you here. I got into the normal university, you know, Linda's aiming high, wants to go to first-level university. She's even retaking her exams. You should be in your senior year, right? Are you still painting? Your paintings are really good. They used to fill the school gallery. I always admired them. During stressful times in senior year, I'd go to the gallery just to look at your work. I often wondered what kind of person could create such beautiful things. He talked a lot, going on without me asking, just talking non-stop. Let's eat, the noodles are getting cold. Spencer's face flushed slightly. Sorry, it's been a long time since I've seen you. Got a bit excited. He opened the drink for me and added some dishes to my bowl. His over-attentiveness was making me uncomfortable. Spencer, have you heard about my situation? I hurriedly finished my meal and sat up straight to face him. I've only heard bits and pieces. His voice was low. He looked up and held my gaze. Back then, I wanted to find you. Hearing bits probably means you know it all. You should know that I have a nickname called a bowl of beef noodles, right? Spencer widened his eyes. Riley, I don't believe those stories. I know you're not that kind of person. What if I am that kind of person? I stared into Spencer's eyes, and his face suddenly looked uneasy, at a loss for how to respond to me. I hadn't met him many times, so there wasn't much of a bond between us. Inviting me for noodles and drinks in the middle of the night, his intentions were definitely not pure. There was no need for me to play dumb. I ignored him, put the money for the beef noodles and 2 drinks on the table. I've paid for the drinks, no need to be polite. Then I walked out of the restaurant briskly. I have a nickname called a bowl of beef noodles. It means that just by treating me to a bowl of beef noodles, you can take me home for the night. I threw the drink bottles into the trash can, thinking to myself, my mom is really a genius. After spending the night at an internet cafe, I received a call from Cindy early the next morning. Due to the pandemic, offline classes were suspended, and we had to switch to online classes. She had packed up my sketchpad and textbooks, and asked where to deliver them. I was furious. Just yesterday, I was kicked out of the house, and returning today would definitely invite a round of ridicule. But I couldn't stay in the internet cafe forever, as I couldn't afford the internet fees either. After much hesitation, I had Cindy drop the stuff at the foot of my apartment building, and I shamelessly went home. Fortunately, my mom wasn't at home. I didn't even change my shoes. Dragged my luggage, and hid in the bedroom, immediately locking the door. I attended the online class with headphones on, making as little noise as possible. It wasn't until I left my room to find something to eat that evening that she saw me, and it was another round of relentless nagging, to which I had become completely immune. I felt like I was about to become a saint. I think I've completely transformed. From my appearance to my soul, I'm no longer connected to Nina. Nor am I the Riley I used to be. Just now, I had a fight with my mom. I scored a dismal 197 on my culture class exam, which I admit was low. During the paper review, my mom rushed up, tore the exam paper into shreds, and was about to slap me. Out of nowhere, I found the strength to push her down onto the bed. For years, she's been hitting and yelling at me, and I never thought I could overpower her fierce demeanor. Unable to move, she turned her head and bit down hard on my wrist. The bite was strong, but I didn't cry out in pain or let go. She bit for a long time, and seeing that I wouldn't release her, she started to sob. That's when I finally got up and let her go. It all happened so fast, I didn't even manage to turn off the video. The class group chat was already blowing up with messages like, Riley is formidable, Riley rocks, and Go Riley, all mixed with undeniable sarcasm. Staring at the noisy class group chat, a wave of sadness suddenly overwhelmed me. I left the group, never wanting to return. Well, my academics are likely beyond saving now. Luckily, I still have my vocational classes, which I take pride in. As long as I do well there, there's still hope. My art teacher once said I could easily make it into the top 10 in the province, but I forgot about my extreme mom. Who knows how many more surprises are waiting for me. After that fight, she never dared to physically attack me again, switching instead to purely verbal assaults. Her words became uglier by the day, and I don't know where she learned them. I find them utterly disgusting, yet she spouts them without batting an eye. I think she's outrageous. Because of the pandemic, many entrance exams have moved online, requiring us to keep our webcams on and complete several pieces of artwork within a specified time. I told my mom I had an exam and closed the door to start painting. Suddenly, she lost it again, complaining about me closing the door and barging in. At that moment, I had already started painting and couldn't speak to her, so I could only plead with my eyes for her to leave quickly. She clearly saw the camera in front of me but still, unfortunately, moved right in front of it, partially appearing on camera. I felt so furious. wishing I could fight her right then and there. Art schools, you won't get in anyway, why pretend like it's real, she muttered as she left. I don't know if the microphone picked up her voice, but at that moment, I was completely distraught. She did it on purpose because she thinks I can't get into top 1 university school of fine arts. I know my academic performance isn't great, but doing well in my vocational subjects is very meaningful to me. It's something I'm truly proud of. Why can't she leave me even this small comfort? Holding back my anger, I finished all the paintings and started packing them as per the school's instructions. I hadn't even finished sealing the package when the system flagged me for cheating, due to the unrelated human presence and noise during the exam. I tore up the half-packed paintings, trembling all over after. She still thought I was making a fuss over nothing, saying I wouldn't get in anyway and it was all pointless. I can't stay in this house any longer. I'd rather be homeless than spend another second with her. I went back to my room to pack my things, and just before leaving, I remembered to grab a few notebooks. Besides buying books, Nina also liked to purchase notebooks. Her desk drawer was filled with stacks of new notebooks. I randomly picked 2, only to discover an old one hidden beneath them. It turned out to be Nina's diary. Just flipping through 2 pages brought me to tears. It revealed that Nina, always so obedient and bright, was far from happy. I spent the afternoon cradling Nina's diary in our shared room, which still seemed to breathe her presence. The scratch papers from solving math problems, the slightly childish poems, the ugly cloth doll from craft class, all belonged to Nina. The only thing missing was the stack of thick certificates, now treasured by my mother in her own room. It turned out her love for Nina wasn't unconditional. She only loved Nina's compliance and excellence. Nina was her perfect creation. She couldn't accept any of her flaws. A vicious thought crossed my mind. This woman loved no one. She merely relished the superiority Nina's docility and accomplishments brought her. She loved only herself. Poor Nina. I had always thought she was naturally quiet, but it was all that woman's doing. She drove Nina to her end and now aimed to mold me into another Nina. Even if it meant destroying me, I wouldn't let her have her way. Such a person didn't deserve to be Nina's mother. As she called me to dinner while I was still packing, she mentioned she had made my favorite pork ribs. Trying to make amends for affecting my exams, but who likes her cooking? It's terribly unpalatable, yet, not eating would only lead to endless accusations of ingratitude. Tired of pretending, I packed Nina's favorite books as well. I muttered under my breath, the food you make is so bad, even dogs wouldn't eat it. I never had the heart to tell you. Her face turned, she kicked the door, and started yelling, nearly 50. Her fierceness hadn't waned, if I didn't interrupt her. She could go on ranting all afternoon. I avoided eye contact and ignored her. Eventually, she must have found it dull and stopped after venting a while on the sofa. My dad really knew how to handle her. He said that arguing takes 2. If you don't engage, she eventually stops. He always dealt with her this way, even when she insulted his parents, just sitting quietly, like a dead man. But even he couldn't take it anymore in the end, when she finally quieted down. I finished packing and took one last look at the room. I had fought with my mom many times, storming out of the house. Despite the harsh words, I always returned to this room that felt safe until I was 14. After Nina left, coming home felt like torture. But now, knowing Nina also disliked this place, I decided to take her away with me, never to return. Grabbing my luggage, I gave her one last glance. The years of confrontation had visibly aged her, her posture slightly stooped as she sat. Yet her face bore no trace of maternal kindness. It seemed that being harsh and bitter isn't something time can erode away, but patience can. I'm leaving, and I'll never come back. I've run away from home many times, but most of the time, she was the one who drove me out. I had no money, and the few friends I had kept their distance because of her, so once I stepped out that door, I had nowhere to go. But this time, I was leaving for good, never to return. Perhaps the coldness in my voice finally made her look at me. What's gotten into you now? She glanced at me, her words as venomous as ever. It's just a lousy exam. Is it really worth all this? Nina would never behave like this. She mentioned Nina, but what right did she have to talk to me about Nina? Shut up, idiot, I retorted as I pushed the door open, but she grabbed my luggage. I raised you all these years, and this is how you treat me. Every single thing you have, I bought for you. How can you treat me like this? You're worse than an animal. worse than an animal. She had said that too many times. She was right, everything I wore and used was arranged by her. She always enjoyed doing so, which I once thought was love, but now realize it was more about control. I've left everything you bought in that room. I didn't take a single item with me, honestly. They were too ugly, utterly hideous, I said as she began to tear at my clothes. Even your skin was bought with my money. If you have the guts, return all my things and get out. Don't ever come back, she said as she stripped off my clothes, telling me to leave forever. Good, I had been waiting for her to say that, wearing just my underwear. I left the house, and she followed. Her eyes filled with undeniable resentment. Riley, why couldn't it have been you who died? She said, standing in the corridor in my underwear. I sat on the low windowsill, my long legs easily resting up. I turned to her, or maybe, I should just die right now. I gently opened the window, and the dust made me sneeze. Our apartment was on the 5th floor. A head-first jump might do the trick. Would she be upset if it pained her? I would feel exhilarated, just as I stood up. Someone suddenly rushed over and pulled me down, quickly wrapping his coat around me. Riley, don't be foolish. It was Spencer. Before I could react, he shielded me with his body. Auntie, Riley is your own daughter after all. Why do you torment her like this? Why can't you just let her be? My mom still looked stunned, but once she realized I wasn't going to die, a look of understanding crossed her face. She probably thought I was faking a suicide to threaten her. You whore. If you're so capable, then jump, she cursed me, then turned to yell at Spencer. Why don't you ask her how she's tormented me? She stared at Spencer for a moment. I remember you. You're the guy who booked a room with this whore. See, I was right. You two are indeed together, and you say you're not selling yourself. She seemed smug, as if she had found proof. Spencer, who had never seen such brazen behavior, was taken aback. I've never seen a mother talk about her own child like this. Whoever ends up being your daughter is truly cursed, he said. Finally, someone spoke a word of fairness. I'm quite well known in this building, but every time my mom and I have a fallout, the neighbors come flocking to mediate, each acting like a benevolent person aiming to accumulate virtues. After all, she is your mom. Your mom means well. Was it easy for your mom to raise you? These phrases keep repeating, driving me to the brink of losing my temper. Of course, I know she's my mom. Otherwise, I wouldn't be going head-to-head with her over the nonsense she makes up if I didn't have to. But just because she's my mom, does that make it okay for her to hurt me unreasonably? Why must I forgive her? Seeing Spencer's profile, I suddenly thought he looked really handsome. Before Spencer could finish speaking, my mom was already on us, pulling and tugging. I quickly slipped out from behind him and freed my mom's grip. Spencer, taken aback for a moment, grabbed me and we ran. My mom chased after us, cursing all the while. It wasn't until we were almost out of the neighborhood that she stopped chasing and stood cursing with her hands on her hips, taking advantage of Spencer hailing a cab. I slipped back into the neighborhood. My mom was about to head back, but seeing me return, she got fired up again, neck stretched out like a fighting rooster. I pulled out Nina's diary from my backpack and threw it at her face. This is Nina's diary. Take a good look at who really hurt her. Hearing Nina's name, my mom calmed down for a moment, but it was only a brief instant. When she looked up at me again, her eyes were still full of resentment. Before she could react, I spoke up. I'm already 18 years old. I haven't disappeared, nor have I been kidnapped. I simply don't want to see you. If you dare call the police on me again, I'll post everything in Nina's diary online and let everyone know what a twisted mother you are. And how you drove your own daughter to her death. After saying that, I glanced one last time towards home, then walked away without looking back. When I got outside, Spencer was already waiting for me in the taxi. I hesitated briefly before getting in. Riley, where do you plan to go? He suddenly stuttered, turning his head away from me. I looked down and realized why. My mom had torn my dress earlier, and I was only wearing Spencer's jacket. Standing was fine, but sitting down, my thighs were completely exposed. I'm not sure where to go. Maybe drop me off at Sunshine Internet Cafe first. I pretended to be nonchalant, deftly grabbing my backpack to cover my legs. Spencer still faced sideways. Your clothes. Maybe you should change first. No need for now. Just lend me your jacket for a bit longer. I'll buy some clothes and return it to you. There's a small market near Sunshine Internet Cafe where you can buy a whole set of clothes for about $50. Riley. About your mom, he started to say something but stopped. Don't mention her to me, she's not my mom anymore. I didn't want to talk about anything related to that woman anymore. The taxi stopped in front of the internet cafe, and I got out, thanking Spencer. Thanks for today. I'll repay you for the cab fare once I have the money. Can I add you on WeChat? I'll return your clothes tomorrow. Spencer quickly pulled out his phone. Of course, I've tried to add you a few times before. But you never accepted. Oh, really? I felt a bit embarrassed. I'm not fond of adding strangers. The guy who kept trying to friend me online was the same one who talked about sailing away. After confirming he had left by car, I took my bag and headed to the local market where I bought a new outfit, a white t-shirt and black sports pants, all for just $39, which was a real bargain. Feeling pleased, I changed clothes and went to the internet cafe. They didn't have laundry detergent there, but they had dish soap, which seemed to work just fine. I washed Spencer's jacket in the restroom and hung it outside the window to dry. After such a draining episode, I was exhausted. The next morning, before I was fully awake, that woman showed up again. This time she didn't come alone. She brought along my estranged stepfather. I gathered Spencer's clothes, grabbed my bag, and left. She clung to me from behind, and I ended up dragging her out of the internet cafe. She wouldn't let go, desperately pleading for my forgiveness. I didn't say a word. To my shock, she knelt down, banging her head on the ground so hard that it started bleeding. After that, she began slapping her face, each slap harder than the last, quickly causing her lips to bleed too. Riley, Mom knows she was wrong. She really does. She cried. Please forgive me. Nina has already left. I can't lose you too. Please come home with me. My dad stepped forward and restrained her, preventing her from continuing her meltdown. I jerked free from her grip with a hiss, ripping the hem of my pants. Furious, I cursed and turned to leave. But then my dad suddenly spoke up. Riley, your mom has made many mistakes, but she realizes them now. Can't you give her another chance? I turned to look at him incredulously. Since I could remember, my father had never had a say at home. He was like a shadow. When Mom yelled or hit me, he wouldn't dare make a peep, just pretending to be absorbed in a book. He was beaten along with me when she lost her temper. Apart from keeping the peace and swallowing his grievances, he never taught me anything. In his whole life, he had only stood up to my mom twice. Once when he dared to marry her, and once when he dared to divorce her, unexpectedly. Today he chose to act. My mom leaned into his arms, crying almost to the point of passing out. At first glance, she looked like a frail, helpless mother upset by her rebellious child. A crowd quickly gathered, and the compassionate onlookers began persuading me. Look at how heartbroken your mom is. They said, there's no knot that can't be untied within a family. In just a moment, someone had already pulled out a phone and started recording. I was furious. I hadn't exposed her online, yet she managed to make me infamous. If this video gets misinterpreted and shared online, along with the rumors she's already spread, it's like she's intent on ruining me. Shut the hell up, I shouted, pulling at my tattered pants and scanning the crowd. This pitiful woman you see is nothing but a lunatic. She drove my sister to death and now she's tormenting me, spreading rumors about me, calling me a whore, claiming I'd sleep with someone for a bowl of beef noodles, stripping me of my clothes, and kicking me out of the house. I'm not even 18 yet. What did I ever do to deserve such torment from this madman? Hurt is hurt. It doesn't become painless just because it's masked by kinship. I will never forgive you, not in my entire life. After shouting these words, I felt like I had used up all my energy. When I turned around, Spencer was already behind me. He pulled me into his arms for a brief hug, then took my hand and we walked away without looking back. My mother's heart-wrenching cries didn't stop. My legs felt weak, and my heart strangely relieved yet inexplicably agitated. Spencer covered my ears. Riley, don't listen, and don't look back. Just keep moving forward. I'll always be by your side. Side story. My name is Spencer, and there's a girl named Riley whom I've liked for a long time. One day, outside the internet cafe, I walked her out. She seemed to have lost all her strength, clinging to me like a wounded cat, lost and unsure of where to go. I offered her a vacant apartment at my place to stay temporarily, fearing she might refuse. She had always been distant towards me, only remembering me as Linda's classmate. In fact, she was distant towards all guys. as any extra word could spark rumors. Who would have thought that the source of these rumors was her own mother, at that time? Having just had a fallout with her parents, she probably didn't have a better option. After hesitating for a moment, she came home with me. Once home, she was very cautious, looking at me with guarded eyes. I made an excuse to go out and buy some stuff, leaving the house. When I returned with food, she had already taken a shower and changed clothes. There was an awkward moment when our eyes met. She was still wearing those pants torn by her mother, which she had cut open on one leg, making them look intentionally designed and quite stylish. When I came out of the kitchen with the dishes, she pushed a simple rental agreement towards me. She insisted on not living there for free and wanted to rent a room, leaving the rent amount up to me. Her face flushed. She told me she'd owe the rent until she found a job. I didn't want her money, but recalling the last time I invited her out for a meal, I agreed. She's proud and sensitive, always worried about being looked down upon. After I signed the agreement, she took her belongings into the bedroom and didn't come out again. She wisely chose the smaller bedroom, leaving the sunnier master bedroom vacant. I remembered what Linda had told me about Riley being a good girl born into unfortunate circumstances. She stayed in her room for a long while, then went out in the afternoon to look for a job. I wanted to accompany her, but she refused. When she returned in the evening, she hesitantly told me she wouldn't be renting the room after all. She had found a job as a hotel waitress, with meals and accommodation provided, earning a salary of $3,000 a month. She was willing to pay $500, but not until she got paid. I said, "No need, helping each other is what friends do." She smiled and said, I need to. Anyone associated with me ends up unlucky." After saying this cheerfully, she turned to pack her things, though there wasn't much to pack except for one bag. Her inseparable sketchpad was gone, no brushes, no paints, just a dirty, large bag that looked empty and too big for her slight frame. When she waved goodbye and I pulled her back, she must have been frightened and looked at me angrily. I cried, pathetically so. I asked, "Riley, where's your sketchpad?" She dryly chuckled, looking into my eyes as she wiped the tears from the corner of my eye. "The sketchpad is lost. It can't be found anymore." Looking into her clear eyes, I found myself at a loss for words. She had been the object of my affection for a long time, ever since I first saw her paintings in the school gallery. Her artistic talent was immense and she was incredibly hardworking. Every teacher who had seen her work said so. She was the pride of her instructors, and we all awaited the day she would become a great painter. Back then, she was just a 15-year-old girl, her eyes sparkling like stars when she spoke. Now, just shy of her 18th birthday, her painting board was lost, and she claimed it was gone forever. I guided her to sit on the sofa and showed her something, a painting. The painting depicted a girl with wings, soaring into the sky, a bag of snacks in her left hand and an ice cream cone in her right, which she was about to taste. This was Riley's work at age 15. I had secretly taken it down from the gallery wall and had it framed. I squatted in front of her and pushed the painting into her hands. It startled her as if it burned, and she flung it away. I picked it up and thrust it back into her hands, holding on tightly. She struggled for a long time, pounding on me with her fists, but I refused to let go. Eventually, she leaned on my shoulder and began to cry. At first, it was just soft whimpers, like a small animal licking its wounds alone, but soon her sobs grew louder, and she buried her head in my chest, her whole body trembling. I kept stroking her hair, repeatedly reassuring her, "Riley, it's okay. If it's lost, we won't look for it. I'll buy you a new one. We'll get a new one together." Side story. My name is Nina, and according to my mom, I am the most well-behaved child. However, deep down, I have always envied Riley, who is neither obedient nor docile. My mom doesn't like her, not because she is unintelligent, but because she doesn't follow orders. My mom has a strong desire for control, almost to a pathological extent. Back then, when we were young, we mistook this controlling behavior as a form of love. I am soft-natured and always complied with whatever my mom said. Riley, on the other hand, often acted obediently but secretly defied our mom, which infuriated her. Riley was frequently punished. Every day, my mom would pick out clothes for us to wear to school. Riley would leave the house dressed as told, but she secretly carried clothes she liked in her backpack. She would change in the school restroom before classes began and switch back before coming home. The same went for her shoes. She secretly bought shoes and hid them in the electrical meter box in the stairwell, remembering to change them before returning home. One day, a classroom photo shared by her teacher in the group chat completely exposed Riley's secret. My mom called Riley's homeroom teacher, furiously accusing Riley of behaving worse than an animal. She rushed to the school, demanding that Riley be expelled immediately. The homeroom teacher pleaded with my mom to let Riley finish the class, but my mom insisted that Riley come down immediately. She was waiting at the school gates. By the time the teacher hung up, Riley was already packing her belongings and stood there obediently. Riley mentioned that the teacher spoke highly of her and had tears in her eyes when she escorted her downstairs. Riley came home wearing her own clothes and shoes but found herself locked out. My mom refused to let her in. I secretly opened the door at 3 a.m. to let her in. She was half asleep, her face marked by the straps of her backpack, lying together in bed. I said, "You should change your ways, shouldn't you?" She murmured back, half-conscious, "But I did nothing wrong." My mom detested snacks and takeout, strictly forbidding us from touching such things. Yet, Riley always managed to buy them secretly. Once, while my mom was out, she sneaked out and bought 2 ice creams. We hid in our room and ate them. It was my first time tasting ice cream, and it was delicious. Unfortunately, I got a sore throat that night. My mom discovered the ice cream wrappers in the trash and was furious. She almost stuffed the wrappers into Riley's mouth. Riley was beaten, but it didn't seem to teach her much. She just became more cautious. Whenever she bought snacks, she would go to a small shop 2 kilometers away, eat them outside the shop, wipe her mouth clean, and then come back. I've only ever seen the popping candy, spicy strips, and chocolates she spoke about, never tasted them. My mom's approach to raising me and Riley was entirely different. She never hit or scolded me, and to Riley, it seemed like she treated me very well. However, whenever I voiced even slight criticism of my mom's actions, she would sit in front of me, crying bitterly, lamenting how hard her life was and that everything she did was for my sake. I couldn't stand her tears. They made me lose all my thoughts. It's my own fault for being too soft and useless. Our family isn't wealthy, but my mom still hired a private tutor for me, while Riley played downstairs, bouncing balls or riding her bike. I would sit by the window watching her. I wanted to join Riley, but my mom wouldn't allow it. I had no vacations, and every weekend a different teacher would come to tutor me. My schedule was packed. I had plenty of pocket money, but other than books and notebooks, I didn't know what else to buy. I protested once, but it was in vain. I only had 2 hours of free time every Sunday afternoon, which I spent sitting on a bench in the community area, watching Riley play with the boys. I had no friends, apart from my mom. There's just Riley left. I can't even remember what my dad was doing. He always holed up alone in the study, leaving all control of the family to my mom. One morning around 3 a.m., she argued with my dad and threatened to divorce him. When I was in the bathroom, she pressed me to choose who I would stay with. I was feeling under the weather at that time. My throat blocked with phlegm and I was coughing so hard I could barely breathe. But my mom didn't let it go. She kept waiting for my answer. I said I chose Riley, that I wanted to be with Riley. She started crying and accusing me of being heartless, which scared me back into my room. I knew what she wanted to hear, but I didn't want to say it. That was probably the only time I was brave. When I went back to my room, Riley had woken up. She hugged me and lay down, telling me to ignore them and let them be. Riley is the only bright spot in my dull life. And I love her vibrancy. She's not good at academics, always joking that her daily schedule only has one subject, English, whether it's Chinese, math, or physics. It all sounds like English to her because the teacher's words seem like another language. Despite this, she still goes to school cheerfully every day. But I can't do that. My mom spends so much on my tutoring, I can't allow myself to score poorly. However, my grades are indeed getting worse. I don't know what went wrong. Not bringing my papers home isn't just to spare Riley's feelings. Sometimes I also do poorly, and I'm afraid of hearing my mom cry. She says all I need to focus on is studying well, and I shouldn't worry about anything else. But I can't even manage that. I'm scared to go to school, afraid to enter the classroom. I started suffering from insomnia and losing lots of hair. Once, I accidentally cut my wrist in the bathroom, and the blood flowed everywhere. But I washed away the bloodstains with the hose, and nobody knew. I think I might be depressed. I mentioned to my mom that a girl in my class was diagnosed with depression. She said it's all because people are too idle nowadays. Riley always reminds me to wear my seatbelt, but she doesn't know that I do it on purpose. Deep down, I secretly hope something happens so I wouldn't have to be so tired anymore. Life seems so long, when will it ever end? Side story. I once had a happy family. My husband was gentle, and my twin daughters were different. One was obedient and quiet, the other lively and active. But now, I have nothing left. Riley refuses to forgive me, and truthfully, I don't have the face to ask for her forgiveness. Yes, she's different from Nina. She only appeared compliant on the surface, always harboring her own opinions. I used to resent this about her. And in my desperation to keep her close, I made many mistakes. Reading Nina's diary, I felt heartache for the first time. I always thought of Nina as obedient, easily shaped to my whims, unaware of her deep dissatisfaction, her silent grievances. It turns out, she didn't like wearing dresses or having long hair either. She wanted to taste ice cream and chocolate, but back then, I was only concerned with molding her according to my wishes, never considering her own desires. The obedient Nina chose a definitive way to say goodbye to me. She must have deeply resented me too. Now, I live alone in that empty house, where time seems to have forgotten to flow. Riley went on to university, though not to an outstanding one. I destroyed her dream. She had wanted to attend an art school. Riley fell in love with a boy named Spencer. They got married and had a lovely daughter. When I went to visit Nina's grave, I saw that child, with her cute, plump lips. Exceptionally charming and adorable. She saw me too and looked back at Riley, saying in her baby voice, "Mommy, that grandma is looking at me." Riley didn't look up, her face still smiling. She must have mistaken me for someone else. Then, she walked away with her little girl, never glancing my way. I heard Spencer call her Bella. What a beautiful name. That's all about this story. Do you have any insights after watching the above story? Feel free to tell us in the comment sections below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe my channel please. See you next time.